Okay, so this, man, this isn't a rant video. This is just me explaining for like the umpteenth time what's going on here. Yeah, Twitter is not my favorite place. I mean, it's gotten to the point where if you just, well, no, it hasn't gotten to the point. It's been at this point where if you have anything negative to say about a certain character with a fan base, they're going to go off. This is not new. I mean, the Fatima thing, hey, that's pretty much the current I guess you could say battleground that's firing arrows at me. Or what? The past couple seasons of Sisters, I want to say like seasons 3 onward, Karen fans, but this has been going back as far as, the haves and the have-nots, where I'm like, yeah, Candace Young does not deserve a happy ending with Charles after everything she's done. Her, all of a sudden being a more chill, seemingly likable character in the final season or so. Yeah, that doesn't really add up to me. Like, even her going so far as to make up with her mom, no. I mean, that was a great scene, but as a character, she's done far too much foul for that to just be erased all of a sudden. No. Now, when it comes to Fatima, my biggest thing is the fact that as a viewer, I have not enjoyed Zatima season 3. And mind you, I'm recording this, ironically enough, an hour before the next 2 episodes air on BET Plus, episodes 11 and 12 of season 3. Even though episode 12 came out, it got leaked on Amazon Prime months ago. But either way, I was on Twitter just now, and somebody said, like, Jeremy, you're excusing Zach from suffering the consequences for his actions, despite the fact that everyone told him what would happen if he, went after Jeremiah. Now, and this is my thing, and like I said, I've mentioned this a number of times, and no matter how many times I mention it, there's always someone who, I don't know if they understand what I'm saying, or if it's just the fact that, oh, you said something against Fatima, so I'm automatically going to disagree. And I just want to get my point across. Why is it Zach that always has to be the one to suffer the consequences for his actions? Why is it Zach that always has to let stuff go, be the bigger person? And my biggest critique, and this isn't just restricted to Fatima, but it's a bunch of characters around him. I think the most recent thing, it isn't just the whole thing about Zach being in jail and whatnot, and Fatima seemingly willing to let him sit in jail until he learns his lesson as opposed to getting him out. It's the excuses that everyone around him, your brother got a problem. Jeremiah having an addiction is no excuse for him putting hands on Fatima. If you were in Zach's position, you'd F him up too, because of the fact that, yeah, my brother has an addiction, but that doesn't give him the right to put his hands on my woman and my unborn child. And were there a number of other ways Zach could have handled this? Absolutely. Absolutely. Fatima, Tyrone, Nathan, Connie, everybody told him what was going down. Dr. Reed. But I think what people fail to comprehend here is that, yet again, Jeremiah, everybody was making excuses for Jeremiah, but nobody was taking the steps needed to make sure this wouldn't happen again. Nobody said, hey, Zach, man, or Fatima, like, look, I'm not saying you put up the money, but is there a way you could, like, talk to Zach so maybe we can get him in rehab or something? Because this entire situation was handled poorly by and that's the thing. We could talk about Zach and what he did, and I'm not excusing Zach for his actions. What I'm saying is, I don't think it's right for Zach to always have to be the person to get shit on. Go back to season 1. Well, heck, from season 1 onward. Bryce violated this dude on more than one occasion by trying to, force himself on him and give him a kiss. And most recently, effing up the company money, which could have had massive ramifications for Zach moving forward. Yes, I know Fatima got money, but that's not the point. Because my thing was, if we go back to season 2, and look, I know this is a what if, but hear me out. I'm just trying to explain the gravity of how bad things could have gotten for Zach in that situation. If his mother had not died when she did, let's say theoretically, before Preston showed up in season 3, things like that. Let's say that the hospital was on the verge of pulling the plug. Mr. Taylor, if we don't have the money by X, amount of, X time, like in 3 hours or whatever, we're going to have to take your mother off, life support because the money isn't there to pay for it. And we have other patients who need this room. And Zach is like, don't worry, I got the money. But remember, Zach had no idea his money was effed up. Fatima was the one that took the hospital personnel in the hallway and explained, don't worry about it. He'll handle it. Okay? Now imagine Zach not knowing what's going on with Bryce and Ride's Ventures. Let's say that, his mom still alive, but then the hospital pulled the plug because the money wasn't there. And Zach is like, wait, what do you mean the money isn't there? And then he finds out Bryce was the one that freaked things up. And indirectly, Bryce was responsible for Miss Gladys dying. And I'm willing to bet, and you could say, Jeremy, this doesn't count because it didn't happen, but hear me out. I'm willing to bet that even if that happened, I don't care if Miss Gladys only had like 30 extra minutes, she would have been alive had she been on life support. But because Bryce freaked up the money, the plug was pulled. Okay? Even if Bryce was indirectly responsible for that, I guarantee Fatima would have been like, come on, Bryce done so much good for you. Look, Zach, I know this is a bad Fatima impression, but come on, Zach. You need to let it go. That's a horrible way to depict Fatima. But when I think about how she's been telling Zach to just brush things under the rug, sweep things under the rug, no matter what Bryce has done so they can move forward, I think it's bullshit. No one ever checks Bryce. No one ever checks Jeremiah. Hell, no one ever checks Fatima. They're allowed to do what they want to do at the cost of Zach. If it's violating his financial status, Bryce. Violating his space and boundaries, Bryce. Because remember, Zach already told him, look, I don't know what happened when I was drunk and everything. Remember, he got undressed in front of Bryce to go shower. But I don't like peeing. I like, kitty cat between the legs. I don't like guys. Hey, we buddy. Like, I'm very expressional, emotional. I'm a touchy person. But I'm not like a person that, is curious. I'm as straight as an arrow. Hey. But then Bryce still decided, I'm going to push up on Zach and try to kiss him. And what did Fatima do when Zach told her? She laughed in his face about it. And then with the money situation, man, I can go on and on. And I don't give a damn if you're a Fatima fan. I don't care how you feel. I'm telling you the facts. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But guess what? I'm spitting facts about how things have been going down in Zatima. It's the truth. It's the truth. You can like it, you can love it, you can hate me, you can unsubscribe, but I'm telling the damn truth and you know it. That's one of the reasons why I somewhat like what they're doing on Sistas right now, where Fatima is on the back foot. I know people hate on Robin. It's like, how dare Robin come in here and tell people what to do? He owns the company. When your supervisor, when your manager, when the CEO of your job, whoever comes in and they tell people what to do, that's their job. I'm sorry, Fatima. Your personal calls and going on personal errands on company time aren't going to fly. Robin needs to go somewhere. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. Since when is it, out of pocket for a person who runs a company to want their employees to work while they're on the clock? Wow. How's that for out of the ordinary? Am I right? But I think one of my favorite elements of what they're doing is the PI that Robin had getting those photos of Fatima confronting Gary outside of his building. this has put Fatima in a spot where she has to be innovative. Brute forcing her way out of this situation isn't the way to go, because it's what got her, and by extension Zach, into the situation in the first place. So her and Zach trying to pool their resources together and come up with clues to figure out who really stabbed Gary, I think is brilliant. But the Fatima fans don't want to see their queen suffering at all, which I think makes her a boring character. Now back to Zatima. I think, the show, and this has been going on for a while, and in Sistas as well, it just lost its touch, because when one person has to deal with so much crap for so long, and it's never evened out, especially in a relationship setting where it's Zach and Fatima, when Zach is the one always dealing with, scrutiny and, consequences for his actions, yet when his woman does the same stuff and she gets off without it's almost like what Hudson told Andy and Sistas. It's funny, Andy, whenever, you get involved with someone, it usually winds up with them having their lives screwed over, their career, their money gone, sometimes their reputation as well. Yet you just prance around without a scratch on you. And that's how it is with Fatima. For her to blow up, be upset at Zach, and look, I still say Belinda, I don't think her apartment deserved to be torn up the way it was. For Zach to do what he did and then get chastised for it, which he deserved, busting in there like he owned a place like the Hulk. And I'm thinking but Fatima, you did the same shit later that day when you went over to Deja's and tore up her apartment, then took a baseball bat and was wailing on some random person's car. Where are your consequences? Are you going to get arrested? It's funny. People always say, Jeremy, you always, defend Zach. I'm not defending Zach. I'm laying out the facts. I'm telling you the truth. Now, and the thing is, that's what some of the actors have told me. They like that I'm unbiased. Yeah, do I have my favorites? Absolutely. But even when my favorites have done wrong, I will call them out for it. I don't have a blind allegiance. Now, don't get me wrong. Beautiful women in these casts. And you can tell by the way I talk about some of them in my reviews, which ones I'm definitely, crushing on hard. But even I'm like, Deja doesn't have that same appeal for me the way she did in like season 1. They made her way too, what's the word I'm looking for? Cartoony in a way. She has her moments, but I feel like she was a more compelling character when she was subtle about her seduction rather than in your face about it. What they're doing with Zach and Fatima, I just don't like the dynamic. It's just way too much negativity towards Zach and how he does things. Yet when Fatima, it's like Zach can do something and it's frowned upon, but whenever Fatima does the same thing, it's glorified. You go, girl. Yeah. She deserved that. Versus Zach, you need to calm down. And yes, I will address this because I know some people will probably get at me on Twitter for this, but I did block a few people yesterday on Christmas of all days, just because if you disagree with me, I'm not going to block you. But if you only engage on my posts to talk shit, then that's not really going to fly. It's like, no, I mean, I could just use you to, boost my posts with the repost and whatnot. But I read some of the things I'm like, and it's not like I have thin skin or anything. It's just that you don't follow me. All you do is complain. And for people to say stupid things like, see, that's why his numbers aren't as high as they used to be. It's like as soon as he talked trash about Fatima back in like season 5, his numbers dwindled. No, actually the YouTube numbers only went down on my Sistas content during season 7B. Basically, people were kind of done with the show at that point. They've come up in season 8A. People saying, oh yeah, I quit watching this stuff because yada yada. That's fine. My numbers are still great and the money's still great. So for the people that want to talk crap about me and the fact that, oh, your numbers aren't, I'm probably making more money from like 2 or 3 videos talking about your favorite character when I'm calling them out than you do on your job in a week. That's not a flex, but that's a fact. So for the people that talk shit, get your facts straight. But then again, these are the same people who want to talk trash about me for spitting facts about the show, so it's clear they don't do their research. Now, when it comes to Zatima Season 3B, I don't have high hopes for it. We know that things are going to be like Kumbaya because everything's going to get together by the time, Miss Glass has her funeral. But then it's going to hit the fan when those guys burst into the house and start shooting. So there's that. But I hope Season 4 definitely turns it around. But I hope this video breaks down why I feel the way I feel about Fatima and how all these other characters in the season have been towards Zach. It's always Zach this, Zach that, but no one's ever talking about, okay, Bryce, we need to put him in line. Preston is the only person right now who has been like, okay, look, that stunt you pulled by making that deal behind Zach's back, if I swoop in to make an investment, this isn't just to save your company, but this is for me to be an investor. Oh yeah, it's kind of funny because Preston is to Rise Ventures kind of what Aaron is to Roots to Riches. It's like, you're not going to pull that shit again. Like, before we make any decision, there's going to be like a sit down, a phone call, whatever. We're going to go through our options and figure out if this is a good investment, because we're not making that mistake again. So that's a person who's looking at Bryce effing up and saying, we're not going to do this again. And if we do, then I'm out. So that's somebody putting Bryce in his place. When I look at the situation involving the kiss and whatnot, Bryce gets on my nerve because he's like, come on, Zach, get over it. This mother, no. And then he got the nerve to get loud with Zach for getting loud with him after sexually harassed him, then effed up the company money. No, man, like, shoot, no. So that's pretty much why I feel the way I feel about Zach and Fatima and pretty much season 3 as a whole. Maybe it will come together by the end of the season, but yet again, it just seems like Zach needs to put in work. Zach needs to change, whereas Fatima doesn't have to do anything. So that's all I got. I'm pretty sure we will revisit this topic as season 3B, gets uploaded to BET Plus week to week. Let me know what you got to say in the comments below, and I'll catch you all in the next video.